From Peoria, Illinois.
We have a lot of stressors around us and still feel empowered.
To Houston, Texas.
I have curves.
Her lingerie collection designed for all body types.
I'm powerful. I'm within my own body.
Making her own way around the world.
I just did New York Fashion Week.
The owner and founder of Delisa Rose.
It's really showing a lot of the intimacy within myself.
This is An Intimate Night with Delisa Rose, a podcast for every woman.
Finally, there's something for us, right?
On this episode, someone's just back from Paris, and we want all the scantily clad details. Qui, welcome home. Tell us about, was it bon? Tell us about Paris.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Bill. I'm glad to be home. Okay. So thanks for that warm welcome. Paris was phenomenal. It was great. I mean, I'm still on a high. Like, I just showcased Paris Fashion Week. Right?
Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
When we started this journey, I had just did New York Fashion Week. So for us to be having this episode and talking about how I, over to Paris, and now we're talking about the recap of it. It was absolutely everything that I could imagine and dream of, and pretty much a little bit more. My first time experience. So obviously, as we talked about in the previous episode, we have showcased with Flying Solo, New York. They're actually based out of New York and Paris. So I used their production, and it was at the LeBron, now I can pronounce it, Le Bourbon venue there in Paris. Such a cool place. And I got us a Airbnb, literally like walking distance to the place. So it was really convenient, So, but I showcased my collection called Fantasy. I don't know. Did you get a chance to look at any of the photos?
Yeah, I think everyone who hasn't, by the way, should be following you. And I'm sure most people listening to this now are. There was some crazy purple stuff.
Yeah.
Some really gorgeous lingerie. And
Thank you.
Do the French take it more seriously? Are they sexier than Americans?
I think that's a good question. Honestly, I got so many compliments on my collection from the French. So it was more or less, people were telling me, wow, this is gorgeous. They were like obsessed with the colors again. Yes, that the way you described it, I did use a lot of vibrant colors. So they are known for color. So I thought I would play on that, right? And bring it a little bit more French inspired in my sourcing phase of when I was developing this collection. So I'm not sure if it's more sexy or not. This is more high-end sexy that I showcase. I think there's different categories of sexy, more bedroom sexy. They could be.
Yeah. Would you call it almost a couture line?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to display couture lingerie on the runway, aside from my basic stuff. Because remember when we launched the Summer Vibes collection and then we launched White Diamonds, that's totally different from fantasy. I wanted to create a fantasy, and we did just that. I mean, this collection is absolutely gorgeous. It's talked about. I'm all on. I don't know if you've been following, but I would definitely say to my listeners, please continue to follow and please continue to look at, tap into all of the features. I was on CBS News talking about the Fantasy collection in Chicago. And then I'm featured in a couple other high profile magazines talking about the collection. So we will be going to details of the behind the scenes of how it was all made pretty soon. So it's a really big deal for this collection to have been showcasing, I guess, first seen in Europe.
Yeah, congratulations. I guess was there any communication breakdown at any point, or does lingerie sort of speak an international language?
They do speak an international language. I mean, I wasn't the first. I'm not the first intimate wear designer that showcased with Flying Solo. So I'm pretty sure that they're very much aware of this category and what it brings to the fashion industry. But I will say this, I tried to set myself apart, and I did that. I really worked so hard on this collection, and it shows. And I'm just now, I'm reaping the rewards of all of the feedback. And then, I've been doing a lot of voting and polls, and people have been giving me great, overwhelming responses. So it's a good thing. I think that the fact that I'm now tapped into the Europe market, I'm able to break into there and showcase anything as it relates to lingerie and it be accepted.
That's fantastic. Tell us about this show specifically.
Yeah. So
Was it
the
the
yeah.
French models, for example, and just who was there in the audience? Give us sort of paint the picture for us.
Yeah, so the story is, I mean, the picture of it all was so surreal. I mean, yes, there were all French models. I brought one of my personal models she came from New York, and the rest were French models that were assigned from the production. And there were some high profile people in the audience that I didn't recognize because I'm not like seeing who's the famous of who's on the market, but there were some celebrities in the crowd. And also the show itself were breaking out into sections. So I was show 3. I think I went on at like 1 p.m. And you do all of the crazy madness, like the behind the scenes, like getting the girls fitted. I'm sure you've been to a Victoria's Secret show, Bill. So
I
you
have.
know
I don't admit
how
it to Mrs. McCuddy, but yes, I was backstage there, and there's no
backstage.
modesty. They're just jumping into those wings,
Oh
and
my gosh.
yeah.
It's a lot of, fast movement, okay? And
Well,
you
it's a
gotta be on.
business. I
It is
mean,
the business.
the
It's a
sexy
business.
part is out is out on the runway. Behind the scenes, it's like seeing how the magic trick is done. You're not sure you really want to know, but
I mean, I show up and ready to go, and they were just calling Delisa Rose, you're next, line your girls up. So it's a business. You're right. And all of I say 5 minutes, what the audience get to see at 5 minutes of the girls just walking down the runway looking extremely beautiful is half of what really goes on. I mean, we
right.
have days of preparation prior to the actual show, right? So and that entails of the fitting. So the fitting started the day prior to the actual show, and I met with all the models, got them fitted. All the models were assigned to me. There was one model, maybe one or two, that didn't feel comfortable with wearing intimate wear. So, and that's something that I've learned that I'm going to have to face because that happened to me in New York,
That's
where
interesting. Let's
yeah,
let's drill down on that for a second. They know the call, they know that it's intimate wear, but they show up and they're just not, they don't
yeah.
feel like they can show the audience that they feel sexy in it, so they ask to be sort of replaced.
Yeah, I had to I think I replaced 3 models. And
Wow.
they do, come to the realization that, wow, I'm going to be revealing more than I expected. But I try to at least showcase pieces that you can transfer, like I mentioned before, outside the bedroom where you can dress it up. Obviously we didn't do this down the runway, and I may do a couple shows like that where I'm dressing it up in a more fashionable styled way, but this is lingerie, so they are aware of the designers and the type of sector that I am in. And before they assign to me the models, they should have had I'm assuming, a conversation with the models about the type of wear that I'm going to be showcasing. So I have no idea in terms of like what happens between the communication, but I will say this: I'm always ready to pivot because I'm understanding that I'm an intimate designer, right? But I try to design in a way where they're not going to be less tasteful. They're going to be tasteful. It's going to be, I mean, you've seen it, Bill. It's absolutely breathtaking. It's gorgeous. Like
Yes, but again, they have to be comfortable in it or they
they
can't sell
do.
it. So if
They
they
do.
walked out there and looked, their eyes were shifting from left to right and they it
Exactly.
would just be
And
the wrong
sweaty.
vibe.
Like, oh my gosh, I don't want to wear this. But
And you know what
exactly.
else is funny about this conversation is that it's a terrible stereotype, but you think of the Europeans as being much more open. We've seen that, growing up, European films were always racier and more, just a
Absolutely.
lot more nudity. So for them to be sort of prim and proper in this one, and as you said, it must have been a surprise, but and you said you pivot, but what did you actually do? Did you have to go find more models?
Yeah, so I met with the leaders of who was handling the backstage, and we were sectioned off in color by color code. So I had a lady who was assigned to the wing that we were in, right, with all the models and the designer, and I just basically, explained to her that I need this model to be replaced because she doesn't feel comfortable, and they did an amazing job with finding the replacements. But in Paris, it was only 3. In New York, it was 7, half of my show, more than half. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have a show. But these ladies, I'm telling you, they are very aware of these types of things happening. It could not just, I don't think it was just maybe intimate where it could be anything, right? They may have a say, but I'm gonna be honest here, Bill. I think that for these production shows, they need to be a little bit more transparent to telling the models that they don't have a choice. You know what I mean? I know it's selling a product, but when they are assigned to a designer, they are there to model, not go back and forth, not confrontations. It's unprofessional. It's a business. You know, I shouldn't, as a designer, have to worry who's going to wear my clothes on the runway.
Yeah. Yeah. Or get in a fight with anybody backstage in this
And I'm
moment
not
of,
going to do that.
this is your moment of triumph. And I assume at
Exactly.
the end of the show, you step out to a round of applause and take a bow.
Yeah, that's
And you want to
all.
have a smile on your face and not be, oh my God, what just happened here? So I think
Yeah,
too, though, even though you're saying maybe it needs a little more tough love, that I think the secret to your personality is that people want to help you, that you have a good sort of vibe that you give off, and people want to help you make it successful. If you
yeah.
were Meryl Streep from The Devil Wears Prada and you were screaming at everybody, I think they'd be like, why don't
Leave
you go
my
out there
face.
yourself, lady? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you Meryl Streep could get anything she wants.
Yeah, but I think that you do it with honey rather than vinegar, and
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's important.
And speaking of, aren't they making a sequel to that show?
Yeah, they are. They're
Get
working on it
I would
now.
love to get Delisa Rose product placement in it.
We should work on that. In the meantime, how was the food in Paris?
Absolutely good. I mean, I tried literally everything that was put into in front of me. I think I brought back 5 pounds too. Um,
But you
no,
kept it away from the models.
oh, yeah, I mean, they were responsible for their diet. So I think during the show, I only ate maybe a handful of nuts and believe a orange. But after the
No
show,
baguettes under the eyes.
no baguettes because we just did not have time. I mean, the good thing about these shows, they are organized and coordinated in a way where it's very strategic, but it's so much going on, Bill. Like, I mean, like I said, you witnessed a little bit of it, but these shows are, if you don't have the strength or the mind, I would say, you probably wouldn't do it. This is like my sixth show since launching Delisa Rose, which we haven't been, it'll be 2 years in February of next year, it'll be 2 years. And I've already done 6 shows. So I love this part of my business, you know? So you don't get a chance to like really eat. You don't sleep. It's just,
Well, think about how far you've come in 2 years to be walking the runways in Paris after New York and learning in each turn what the market wants. And I'm curious to know because you sort of glossed over it, and I want listeners to understand all of this work, sweat, tears, and blood is
Mhm.
over in 5 minutes. The show is literally what, a
Yeah.
half dozen or a dozen designs that go by in just 5 minutes? That seems crazy.
Yes. And all that work the designers put into the prep work and all the months, like you just explained, the blood, sweat, and tears, and sometimes it can literally be tears. All of that is done within just 5 minutes of showing the garment. So, I would offer that my listeners who's listening to this to just, a little bit more sensitivity towards designers and care, even if it's something that maybe you wouldn't necessarily wear, but sharing it, liking it, reposting it, commenting, engaging. It means a lot to us because we work so hard and just work hard to just get the images to showcase and to, you know, post them and hope that the buyers or someone would collab or you would get sales or whatever the case may be, that your reasoning why you're going into such a experience to showcase your work. But it is an art, it's a form of art, and we are creative. We think, we collaborate, we source. It's a lot of monetary money that goes into it, right?
Yeah, it's
So
it's a big gamble for 5 minutes in front of. Did you
exactly.
meet with any buyers? Was there some positive reaction from them in terms of maybe opening up the European market for your line?
I did not meet with any buyers. I'm not even sure what buyers was in the audience. I will be honest because the way the show was structured, I mean, we went in phases of groups. And I was like, I think I glossed over this too. I was in group 3. My show started at 1 p.m. And at this point, there's already people in the audience, right? We don't know who's in the audience. I don't see the guest list. I don't see what main attract me of who celebrity or buyers are coming. And we basically line up, get our models dressed as they're coming off another show. You see what I mean? So
Right.
they're not just 100% assigned to my brand. They're
Right.
doing other shows, and then I'm having to wait.
Like a tag team, almost like a
Absolutely. And
baton that gets
if there was
passed.
anything that I would say negative, and I don't necessarily, I'm not a negative person, but I would say that I probably wouldn't care for. I would say in this process, it would be the sharing of the models.
Oh, I see, because they have to get your stuff off and get to the next thing.
Yeah, I want to make it to where, and I'm going to make it. I believe this. I'm going to make it to where I have my own models, and we're like a troop. We're rolling around the world. And there
One
are
advantage to intimate apparel is they could leave your stuff on and just put fashion
exactly
clothes over it and do the next part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, like when we talked about sexy has no size, I'm rolling out a campaign for that. So I'm actually now auditioning for models for 2025, where I'm coming up with my 2025 plan now. And next year, hopefully we'll be talking about this on another edition of a podcast, season 2. I will be doing my own production, sort of like what Victoria's Secret does.
Oh,
And
so you're going to have, that makes a lot of sense. And will you invite some other kinds of designers that maybe aren't in the intimate category, but have some styles that maybe you want to help launch as well?
Sure. I'm definitely interested in doing that. I want press there, of course. I want real buyers there. I want it to be a better experience than what I've experienced in New York. And also, honestly, Paris was amazing, but the experience could be always better. You know what I'm saying? And I understand.
Would you go back to Paris next year if you were invited?
Yes, absolutely. Good. And I would do Milan as well. I actually got invited to Milan too this year, but I just couldn't swing 2 shows.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Delisa Rose, your luxury lingerie destination, featuring in-house signature collections and other beautiful designs from around the world. Lingerie for every woman, many made to order with a nod to her engineering background. All shapes, all sizes. More at DelisaRoseLuxuryLingerie.com.
This is incredible. And really, I know people listening who share in your success and listen to your journey are just thrilled for you, as am I. And I want to know if we're going to see some video in the social postings coming up.
Yes, that's coming. I was waiting for my videographer to finish the final touches. I definitely have a couple videos, Bill. It's going to be a couple because I'm really adamant about showing the beginning of the process, where I had to hire a fit model. That one size model that you see, all those sizes is one model size. And it's amazing how all those girls can fit it with different specs, different dimensions and measurements and things like that. So I'm going to show us behind the scenes of how it was getting made, of me visiting the factory, of all the hard work. I mean, literally months. So that, and then it's like a storytelling. Like I'm really wanting to create a fantasy from the beginning all the way to the runway.
That's great. I think everyone will really, really respond to that, including maybe some of the buyers that may or may not have been there. And I think this is what is important, is that this is a vehicle for your fan base to see what it takes, but also from a retail standpoint, getting the word out about the line and getting some major players to come to the table and say, we need this in our stores and we need it yesterday.
Absolutely. I mean, that would definitely be a dream come true. I mean, we work hard, and I say I mean like designers to get to that level. I really would love it if that was my, 2024 plan, but I really would love it if 2025 would bring me more collaborations with high-end stores, because I can see me being the actual designer for some of these brands. Like we talked about with Nike and some other high profile brands. Like I definitely bring more than just a design aspect of it all. I mean, obviously coming from engineering, I come with a plethora of experience and knowledge and skill set that most designers don't have. So it will be nice to do
If
that.
you build it, they will come. What's next for you? You're back, you're catching your breath, but I
Yeah.
rarely take a beat. So what can we look forward to in the next few months? I'm sure you're getting ready for the holiday season.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to come off some downtime, but I'm doing one pop-up. I'm gonna have a pop-up in Atlanta. I did ATL Live show last month, and I announced that pop-up on that show. It was really nice. So that's going to be my first pop-up show, and we're going to showcase the fantasy collection and on like mannequins and just people to come in, kind of like an art style, gallery style vibe, and have some of Atlanta's who's and who's to come out and just
Oh,
check it out.
great. Do we
Yeah,
have a date for that yet?
it's October 26th, tentative, but that may be pushed back due to some other conflicts. So it's either going to be in October or November, but right now we do have a date set for 10 to.
So if you're in the Atlanta area or can get there, be sure and follow us on social and make sure that you're there because the queen herself will be in person and
Yeah,
you can actually see some of this that we've been talking about in person. That's exciting.
that's exciting. It is. And you can actually get to, for other people who are trying to tap into the fashion industry, I'm here for Q&As. I'm starting to get a lot of questions that people ask me now in more of a consultant way. So I'm happy to answer any question how I got started in the business and it just to walk people through the whole process so that they're not making mistakes and things like that. So please, if my followers or listeners are listening in, if you have an interest in tapping into the fashion industry, I'm happy to also answer any questions as it relates to that. So just
She's an
follow us for
open
more.
book.
Yeah, follow
She's
us
an
for more.
she's an open college almost level book of what to
Yeah,
do and not to do. You can comment
exactly.
below, obviously, if you're looking at this in a place that you can comment and continue to follow. If you are anywhere near any place that she will be, Kui is ready to try and help you too. And I like the idea that you're going to run these shows eventually and make available the opportunities for other young entrepreneurs that are trying to break into this business as you have.
Hmm. Exactly.
They're likely not engineers, or they might be,
It's
but
okay.
you have, as Liam Neeson would say, a specific set of skills, and you're willing to share them. So until next time, a tutelar, a biento, and
Hey.
welcome home.
Thank you. We love French. Thanks, guys.